So we're going to start feeding that magic liquid in there, the carburetor. So it's all about matching, right? It's getting the right sizes for everything. So the 500 horsepower, we're just squeezing by that 650 CFM. We're bumping into that 750 CFM range. So we've got a really cool carburetor from Quick Fuel Technologies. It's pretty much a full-on race setup. And we set it up for racing, but we've got a few sort of drivability things in there that we baked in. First off, we've got annular discharges instead of a dog leg. They're going to give it a little bit better drivability, kind of transient response. Now, depending on your application, you may lose a horsepower or two with the annular discharge style, but this will be real nice to make the car drive on the street and the track.
Absolutely.
We've got additional air bleed holes you can see right here on the primaries. And what those are going to allow you to do is get a little bit more air at idle without having to open the throttle blades and get in those transition slots. You want to keep those throttle blades down just so that your idle circuit's actually working. So that's kind of a nice feature because a big cam is going to make your engine run rough. You're going to need a little bit more air and fuel to keep it running.
I'm going to start the fuel cell.
Sounds good. We've still got provisions, for vacuum. We've got additional ports over here for something like your distributor timing. Pretty simple setup. I think we can start setting this guy down. We've got to get some carb studs, but from here, I think it's time to start in the back, get that fuel moving forward.
All right, got the old girl out of here. Actually in pretty good shape. The only problem was the guy put it in really well. Look at all that goop. Man, that thing did not want to come out. And this is typical 60s Ford application, Mustangs, Galaxies, all those use this kind of drop-in tank. And back in the day, not a problem for a street car. Still a good tank for a street car.
Yeah, lap belts were fine, no headrests were fine.
Right.
Back in the day, it was all good.
But we're going to push this thing. We're going to go left hard, we're going to go right hard, we're going to go forward hard.
And we're going to be in some dangerous situations.
Yes.
Racing.
Yes. So what we're going to do is switch over to a fuel cell. And the big difference with a fuel cell is it has a bladder. And so if you get a side impact or any kind of impact, in the old days it would just shear the metal, pour gas everywhere, catch on fire. Not a fun situation.
Well, think about where that tank is. It's right in the back where you can either spin out and crash into a wall, get hit from behind. Not the safest place to put a fuel tank. So really good way to upgrade your safety, and we're going to talk about some of the performance.
Great for packaging though. So if you look inside, there's this cell foam, and this is going to basically baffle the gas, keep it from going back and forth. It's a nice, easy, light way to do it.
Yeah, and it's stuffed completely in there, so it's slowing down that slosh. There's also a lot of ways you can do baffling within tanks like this as well.
Now if you look at the cap, it's got a cool little splash feature. Obviously here's your vent, and you've got your power coming in for your pump.
Yeah, and this is a check ball in here too, so if you roll over, imagine that, that splash guard seals this off and the vent seals this off.
Now I'll show you where the pump resides here. Check out this little box. Here's the pump. It goes down inside, and this is going to keep fuel inside. Now I have a really cool feature on this. If you flip it left, you see this little check ball in there? It's a little nylon ball. So as you turn it left, it's letting gas into the box where the pump is. You turn it right, it locks it off and keeps the fuel from going out.
Yeah, now this whole assembly is going to drop straight down in here through this big opening, right where the fuel is.
Yeah.
It's great. Now speaking of having fuel at the pump, this is a Stealth from Aeromotive. This is a 340 liter per hour pump. It's a huge amount of flow for this tiny little guy. Now we're going to put it inside the fuel tank, in the cell, something that you're normally not going to do. You're going to have a pickup tube you're going to feed to some pump, whether it's a mechanical way on the other end or maybe an electric pump on the rail. Getting it in the fuel cell is really, really important, especially as you're drawing that much fuel.
Almost all manufacturers, hot rod guys, racing, everybody has gone to the in-tank pump.
Yeah, and the reasons are you're pulling a vacuum to get that fuel out of the tank, out of the pickup, and to the pump. From there, it's not a problem. You're pushing, you're building a lot of pressure to go forward. That part's okay. It's pulling that vacuum. Well, you're lowering the pressure, you're lowering, atmosphere or whatever, and you're lowering the boiling point. So you're going to cavitate and you're going to vaporize a whole lot sooner.
Not good.
Yeah, also on return style fuel systems, you're sending a lot of fuel to the front, ready for a wide open throttle. Well, when you're not, you're sending a lot of that back. Well, it's getting warmed up. So your fuel is building heat over time. It's getting heat off the pavement. So you're getting closer to that boiling point from the other direction. So cavitation is a real easy thing to do. You hear a lot of guys complaining like, oh, my pump overheated and it stopped. But after a while, it cooled down and kept pumping. Well, you're probably cavitating. You're not cooling your pump. You're seizing it up. Bad deal.
Sure, not good.
Yeah.
Or your filter's clogged, not good either.
What else is nice? All that buzzing noise, it's in the tank.
Yeah, remember the old days?
Yeah, not good. It also keeps it nice and cool, so it's the best place to put your pump. This is gonna be a great setup. Hey, welcome back. We've got our pump installed inside of our fuel-safe fuel cell, and that's installed in the car. Now we can start routing our lines. So in the tank is the pump, and we put a sock on it or a pre-filter. That's about 100 micron size. That's gonna keep out the big rocks and the boulders. From there, through the pump, it's going to come out and we're going to run it through a 10 micron filter. So that's going to keep all the little debris from getting in your fuel injectors or your carburetor. So here's the outlet of the pump here. Started making our AN lines so I can start to thread this stuff together. Brian's making me a cool little bracket to mount the filter here, and that'll tuck up right up like that, and I can start running my lines. We're going to go on the passenger side because that's where the fuel rail is. Instead of the original mechanical pump was on the engine up front on the driver's side. So we can skip a little bit of routing, clean it up, go down there, run our regulator, and I return right back to the tank.
All right, fuel filter bracket's just about done, which Mr. Byrd is very grateful for, I'm sure.
I'll finish this off for you, Brian.
Thank you very much. All right, next fabricating mission is we're going to do some tow hooks. Now, if you're stranded, if you're on the track, these are a beautiful tool. And you can normally, you can bandsaw it, hole saw out, 1/4-inch steel plate, but this is going to be a real pain. And we got lucky. We had a buddy bring by a 4-foot Tracker CNC Pro table. Now, this is a CNC plasma cutting system that can do thin all the way up to 1 inch. It's amazing. All you do, you can take a photo, you can scan, you can do a CAD drawing, you can do any shape you want, and this baby will cut it out fast, easy, and no matter what material it is, obviously steel, aluminum, stainless, any of these are great. Now what we did our little CAD drawing, we brought it back, cleaned it up just a hair, which is easy, and we machined a couple of bungs. This is going to allow it to swivel, bolt on and off. And I've spaced it up a little bit, just about 1/8 of an inch, because otherwise it would really misalign once you tacked and welded it together. So I'm going to go ahead, tack these, pull the old TIG out here, and then at that point we'll move on to doing the other side that'll go to the frame.
Making good progress. We got our feed and our return lines coming up here on the rocker, and I started to make my AN lines here to feed my carburetor. Now if you notice, we're running things a little bit differently than most guys run it. We're about to turn your regulator world upside down. All right, now pay close attention. Normally we feed the regulator here. We take off, a line that's been regulated to 7 psi, and I feed sort of a log or a dead-headed carburetor system here. And then once we've exceeded 7 psi, because we got a lot of fuel pressure, a lot of pump back there, we'll just bypass it, send it back, which is great. It works pretty good for most applications, but when you do a heavy, from idle to say a drag launch, you can drain those fuel bowls. It takes, fractions of seconds to send that signal to the regulator, let it get flowing the fuel back to this carburetor. If you run it through like this, like a full log, so we've got our inlet this way, we're running through and regulating and down, you've always got a flowing 7 psi instead of a dead-headed psi. That's always going to make sure you've got the fastest, quickest response for when you go from an idle to a heavy load condition. So you're always going to have full float bowls, you're going to run consistent, you're not going to have any lean conditions, damage anything, and you're not going to lose 1/10 of a second here or there on your drag run. It's a great setup. Try it out.
Next mission, dead pedal. Do you know what a dead pedal is? Well, when you have your foot up there and you have nowhere to put it, there's a dead pedal. And the other thing we're going to do is add a high beam indicator. We've patterned it out. So made it in cardboard, scanned it in the scanner, then we've put it into our Tracker CNC. Really quick and easy, simple way to cut this thing out of thin aluminum. Now I got my piece back in aluminum. You can see here, I want to lay out my bending. We've already fit that to the car, and a good fast way to lay these out, your bend lines, take a set of calipers, lock them down. Good scribe there. Same on the other side. Whoop. And then I like to label up, down, up. Keeps you from messing up your fold lines so you get them right. Now if you come over to the brake, good rule of thumb is take your pattern, go ahead and test it. Okay, that's gonna work, that's gonna work. Now you know your order. Flip it upside down. This is gonna be about a 90-degree bend. Go ahead and lock that. Bend it over, there's a gauge over here so you can read. It's pretty close. Check it that way. Now in the other direction, do the same thing. Break that out. Not quite. There we go. Now we got one more bend to finish. We'll do that after the break. Welcome back. Now, see the little dimple die that was made? Look how cool and racy that looks. And all that happens is you have this little guy and it just, there's an air that works. It does it. So watch how fast and easy this is. Are you ready? Here we go. Don't blink. Oh, and there it is. Now you release, let it off, take off your bolt. Try to do it really fast because you're watching. And check that out.
All right, Brian's popping out some trick fab in there on that dead pedal, playing around with dimple dies. I thought I'd make some cool stuff myself. Well, all right, I cheated. I got a cool panel from Undercover Innovations. It's pretty slick, fits right up here in this big gaping hole. Keeps a lot of that airflow through the radiator, so it's spilling over the top. So it does a couple functions. You know, you can get it in the polish, you can get it in clear anodized, or anodized, you can get it in black. You know, you can get your logo on it. Of course, it comes in all different, you know, GM and Chrysler and, you know, Ford models, but this polished one's not quite doing it for me. For some reason, I'm digging the black. I don't know what it is. It's just calling out to me. So I think all I gotta do is finish putting my little hood support on, and I am gonna call this front end done.